Good evening and welcome back to the Upset Podcast. We're so happy that you tuned in this evening. Tonight, we're talking about preachers, post, and public opinion. Coming up next. That's right. Once again, welcome back to the Upset Podcast. We're so happy that you tuned in on this Sunday evening to join in the conversation with not just me, but all of these wonderful people right here. Hey, guys.
Hey, happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday.
Beautiful spring day out there today.
Yeah, yesterday was even better, though.
Yeah.
I love
Yesterday we had a little bit more sun, I feel. I don't know. So how was the week? What's been going on? I guess this is the start of a week. So how was last week?
Last week was okay, but I'll tell you who got it going on. Oakwood's got it going on.
Oh, yay. Here we go. Here we go. Oakwood announced his first female president.
Yeah.
I heard Tally's going to protest, though. That's
Dr.
what I heard.
Look, I told
He
somebody
wouldn't
that I thought it was going to be Dr. Gina. I'm happy for her. I pray for her success. She has the burden of running the school is one thing, but the burden that is placed upon her now by so many people who are just assigning to her extraordinary success simply because of she's been selected. That's a tremendous burden, and so I pray that she'll shoulder it. She's bright, she's committed, she is equipped, and I wish her well. I really do.
Me too. I'm really excited.
Absolutely.
Thinking about having a daughter that possibly will be going there in a couple of years, it makes me feel very confident that we have a few years to get things ironed out, moving in the right direction, hopefully. And
I don't keep up with a lot of things. Are there any particular issues at Oakwood that
No,
people
Oakwood's
cite?
perfect. All is well.
I mean, all
We bleed blue and gold.
all
The lowest institution.
all of our higher learning institutions took a hit due to the pandemic and other factors. I mean, so is there something more than just the normal?
Enrollment has dropped significantly.
Right. Yeah.
Financially, there are some concerns about debts and lands and acquisitions and property. So, there's a lot of work to be done, but Oakwood is still an amazing school.
Yeah.
And amazing students go there, and they change the world after they go through those doors. So let's keep that going.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
So we're looking forward to that. Yes. Hello, Mary. Thanks for joining us this evening. Hello, Mike Williams. Thanks for being here. Hi, Jocelyn. Thanks for joining us. Pastor Grissom, thumbs up. Saw you this past weekend. Oh, I was supposed to ask, are you by yourself or someone with you? Sorry, that's a little inside joke.
I was going to say, you have to tell his wife.
Yes. And hi, Fernanda. Thanks for being here. And thanks for joining us. So so we heard that news over the weekend. And also, are you guys, you heard about the April 5th, the march? Or
what protest is that? I heard about it, but I don't know what it is.
So I'm laughing because, there are people who are, playing dumb regarding it because.
No, we're not playing.
I don't know what you're talking about. I heard about April Fools on April 1. What's April 5?
Really? Okay, so evidently on April 5th, now I got to really pull up my notes. On April 5th, there's supposed to be global protest where cities are kind of uniting against Trump and Musk.
Oh,
And this is, like I said, it's global. And so the admonition has been to those in the Black community not to participate because they want it to be very evident that it's not us. It's not just, it's not just us that find some of the things happening to be just appalling. They want other nationalities and ethnicities to share their disgrace without it being clouded. Because, when we get involved and they're able to demonize what's happening and, call it all kinds of things. So, yeah, I don't know. I saw that on my feed a few times over the weekend, and I didn't know about it, but I've seen several articles on it since. So
I did see someone comment on it, or a video of someone commenting, but I was so clueless as to what she was speaking on.
I was like, I didn't know about this. So I started clicking around and I saw video here, an article here. So just something for those who
I found it interesting that this whole DEI issue came up concerning Disney. It's like,
oh yeah,
what's going on
Disney,
with Disney now?
but it sounds like because they are regulated to some extent by the FCC, that they can get involved in this whole DEI rollback bullying that they're doing. Poor Mickey Mouse.
Listen. I know.
Well, what it means is that they're looking at, Disney produced a lot of animated features and movies that had people of color in it, portraying certain characters, and they're suggesting that that might affect not only their archive but future productions.
That is intriguing for a couple different reasons. First, when I guess the initial attack on DEI had to do with hiring practices, but now you're talking about affecting a business's product.
Right.
Well, this is sounding less like a free nation if that's the case than before. So there are some concerns there. Well, I mean, there's always been concerns, but this is interesting. This is very interesting.
Isn't Mickey Black?
Well, they're talking about a psychosis that's been a part of this nation ever since Donald Trump became president. And a part of it is that we're starting to reflect some of his baser elements. And one is narcissism. And narcissism is the love of one's image, not so much the love of oneself, but one's image. And Donald Trump, the idea that he could do anything wrong is offensive to him. And he feels the same. It's extending out now. You can't say that America did wrong through slavery and Jim Crow and bigotry and racism. And that's why they're pushing to try to sweep all of that stuff under the rug. Yeah. On that level, the Reverend Bishop Bill Barber and the Repairers of the Breach are launching a series of protests that'll take place every Wednesday down in Washington, D.C. So we're trying to turn the heat up and make sure that people are aware that that we can't be silent in times like this.
Just with that, Bishop Barber had a couple of weeks ago, I think, a protest going on. And surprisingly, I saw the news story, and I actually saw several of our pastors in that same march.
Yeah, they were alerted by one of our pastors in the Philadelphia area.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you saw them in the news report in there?
I saw Marcus Harris there.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I mean, I know we shared some images from them, but I'm happy to see that they were in the official coverage, if you will. Of it. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. What about the Smithsonian?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that is an interesting one.
That's next level too. When I saw it, I just said, to go that far.
Yeah, it's like nothing is off limits.
Yeah, when the president put himself over the Kennedy Center, I said, you don't have enough work to do. But then I realized you do have enough work to do. You're just trying every ditch effort. And then to go after Smithsonian, I said, that's next level.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, he's going after Smithsonian. He's going after public radio and
PB,
yeah,
PBS?
Yes.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. He's going after anything that he perceives is reflective of what he considers to be woke. He's on a tirade about this thing. He's taken the Nebuchadnezzar route, not aware that there's still a lot of grass left to eat in this world, and I
Well,
perceive
you know,
that.
he can only go there because the Smithsonian, much of its budget is federally funded.
Yeah. That's why you can go to those museums for free down in DC.
Yeah.
Because you and I pay for it. I mean,
Oh yeah, I did hear about that. I love it when our audience shares some of the headlines. That Musk bought
Yes.
Z for himself for millions of dollars.
X.
Yeah, that's what I was like. Z, I think, yeah, that's probably a typo. Z is by X in the. But yeah, I was like, okay, so you sell, like, how does that work? We got you, Rodney. It's
Restructuring. It sounds like he's just restructuring his company.
Yeah.
I don't know the well, yeah. So it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how
Who's he gonna sell Tesla to? For a friend, because the stocks for Tesla were
plummeting.
Yeah. That's right. And the Cybertruck recall because of the panels.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying.
I saw a video of a guy at a Cybertruck. He was so ticked off. He was pulling the panels off his truck.
Like the fact that you could really do that with your hands.
I mean, if we're honest, Elon has a terrible record of actually coming through on anything that he has promised. You go back and you look at some of the even before COVID, there was a sports car that was supposed to come out years before then. People put money down, and it has never seen the light of day. The semi trucks that were promised, and it was going to do this and that. I haven't seen that. I don't know if it's on the road
it's
or
unfortunate
not.
because he bought that company from two engineers who wanted to build the first electric sports car. And they named the car company after Nikolai Tesla. So he just bought the company. He's not a car manufacturer.
No,
he's a businessman.
Just has the money to hold it.
Yeah. So what do you expect?
Listen, they were making Teslas out of tents during COVID. I am not putting any trust in this company.
Well, I saw a story where people that own Teslas are now rebadging their cars.
Oh yeah, I've seen them. Yeah.
Well, my brother just sold two. He had one, and he sold his, and then he traded another car with a son, and got another one and sold that one. I mean, I have friends who are trying to get rid of Tesla. If you want an electric car right now from Tesla, you can get one pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
Well, maybe, I'm not sure if most Americans know that the Chinese are light years ahead of us in Chinese car manufacturing. In fact, BYD, I think it's called BYD, is manufacturing some incredible, electric cars that have longer range, better features, better built. But of course, if you try to buy one from over in China, it will cost you maybe twice as much.
Yeah, no.
And now these tariffs, don't even get started on that.
Yeah, America is not the best. We just have the biggest ego.
Well, what can we say? Oh yes. Yes. Before we transition, yes, I didn't see you though. I was there. You were at Pine Forge Academy, had their senior presentation, parent weekend there. So it was great seeing all the parents come in town to watch their seniors be presented. It was really nice.
Good. Awesome.
Yeah, it was really nice. Yeah. So Pastor Novelli, your sermon on Sabbath was a blessing. Look at that.
Hey.
And thanks be to God. Thank you, Miss Rita. Thank God.
Yes. All right, guys. Well, it's time for us to transition into our topic for the evening, which I said it wrong in the beginning, is preachers, post, and the price of public opinion. And even though we say preachers, this can't really apply to anyone who has any type of platform, where what they're saying, it doesn't even necessarily have to be on a streaming platform, because we're living in a day and age where a cell phone, anyone's cell phone or iPad or any type of tablet, can capture what's being said at any given moment. And in this digital age, we're coming into this realization that anything that we say, can be captured and shared globally and subject to the opinions and the manipulation of others. And just over the last few days, we've seen a classic example of this with gospel recording artists and Bishop Marvin Sapp. So we've seen this in other instances, but because this was, the most recent one that we've seen, I thought it would be interesting for us to just talk a little bit about what happens when your soundbite goes viral. And then we'll talk about it in our context. All of you are speakers, all of you are online somewhere. All of us, even if this platform,
thank you, us, yes,
to be clipped and put a little nice music bed behind it, add a caption, and we're also going viral. So the thing with Marvin Sapp, of course, we've seen I think it's like 30-40 second video that has surfaced, but I wanted to share a little bit more of the context of what was said a little bit before that, just so that we're giving ourselves a well-rounded view of this. And then I want to talk about some of the things I observed. I want to know what you all think, and we'll move from there. So let's.
Awesome. And while Tasha's queuing up the video, can we make sure that everyone locks their doors right now, wherever you are? Make sure the door you're in, the room you're in, the door is locked before you watch this video. Please, 3 seconds, lock your doors. All right, let's go, Tasha.
No, and I think it's important to know that, and you'll see it at the end of the video, that this was not recent. This happened in July of 2024.
Oh,
Really?
okay.
I thought it was.
See, so we'll even talk about that. See?
Old news.
All right, so let's hear some of the context behind this viral video.
For a quick moment, I want everybody to remain standing quickly. How many of y'all really received something from the word of the Lord tonight? Listen, when you study scripture, you will notice that whenever God did something in the lives of the patriarchs of old, the patriarchs would pause. They would set up an altar, and they would offer a sacrifice. I asked each and every one of you, how many of y'all received something from the word of the Lord? Everyone in this place said these words, I did. Because of your acknowledgement of what God did in word, there is an obligation that is attached to that acknowledgement. In biblical days, they offered livestock, grain. That was a type of currency. Note, if you will, I did not say money. I said currency. And this is what God is saying for at least 1,000 of you in the building. And this is simple. I'm not going to challenge you the way Bishop did, but I know that there's 1,000 individuals under the sound of my voice that can do what I'm about to challenge you all to do. This is simple. 1,000 people giving what I'm about to challenge will be $20,000. 1,000 people giving what I'm about to challenge you all to do will be $20,000. Now, for those of us who are on the dais, I'm taking you higher, so put it back. I'm a strong believer that leaders lead not only in time, not only in talent, but also in treasure. Leaders lead in time, talent, and treasure. I was taught a long time ago that it costs to sit up here. There's 1,000 of you. I said, close them doors. Ushers, close the doors. Close the doors. Close the doors. We all gonna leave together. Y'all ain't going no place but to the restaurant. There's 1,000 of you tonight, and those that are watching, it's 1,000 that's watching online. This is a small seed. If I get 1,000 online to give this, if I get 1,000 in the sanctuary to give this, that's $40,000 tonight. Now, everyone up here,
Okay. So I'm gonna pause it right there. So pretty much the portion of the video that's gone viral is when he starts with telling them to close those doors, right? So first of all, before I say anything else, what are your impressions of what you heard? Does that provide you more context? Because obviously since then, Marvin Sapp has released a statement trying to provide more context. Obviously, he's just finished preaching. They're at this convention. It's known for them to raise funds to keep the convention, pay for expenses. Those of us who've done activities know that it costs. So what do we think about this? Just our off the cuff reaction to it.
Well,
Sorry, go ahead, G. Yeah, I was saying off the very surface, it reminds me of other moments in churches or concerts when monies are trying to be raised for the roof, for the trips, for the youth, for the whatever. And, the pastor says, hey, listen, or the MC, we want to, raise $20,000 tonight to do X, Y, and Z. Can we get 5 of you to give X, Y, 5 of you to, it started off in my mind like that. Yeah, we all been in a moment like that. We get it. Shut the door for what? Then I'm like, what's that about? I wasn't feeling that part about shut the door. And that's where it went wrong. Maybe it went wrong in other parts too, but for sure that part didn't go well.
So, and he does say in his response, you're right, Rob, can't meet an offering. But he does say in his response that, I don't know if you all do it at your churches, but sometimes I know the ushers are instructed to lock the doors during the offering time, not to let anyone come in and out, because anytime money is being collected, you have that possibility of somebody kind of running in, swooping the money out and, leaving. So it's supposed to be a security measure, and I think he alludes to that in his response in terms of why he told them to shut the door.
But wait, if it is a per usual practice that those ushers shut the door during offering, why did he have to say it and then emphasize it again? I said shut the door.
That may not have been a protocol for them at that moment, but for us, my home church in Brooklyn, Storefront Church, we shut both doors, right, to the building and to the sanctuary at the time that we're collecting. Even where they're counting the money, there's several doors that you had to get through. And they're in Baltimore, lovely city, but they got their issues, So
yeah.
So there's that element, but there's also the element of I want people to lock in on what I'm saying, So let's limit the movement. I've been in churches that they do that, like you can't get up, during offering. So ushers shut the door. You can't just move about when it's time for offering. So I can see, Novella, your point. Like it could be off-putting if you're not familiar and if it's not well explained what's transpiring. But
let's be clear.
I got you.
He gave the context. This was not a security measure. He said, y'all aren't going anywhere anyway except to rest. He gave the context. Now this is an old ploy that is used, and what it is to do, it is to convey a level of hierarchical authority. For example, it's like your mother saying, I said sit down. The fact that someone can tell you what to do and constrict your movement puts you in a position where you are more likely to obey their second mandate. I said shut the doors. That being what that says is you are all under my thrall right now. Therefore, whatever I say next, you cannot resist that. It's the old alien message from the spaceship. Resistance is futile. And so that command, shut the door. It says someone is in absolute control here. And you are more likely then to. Now, I'm not accusing him of anything. I'm simply saying it had nothing to do with security.
Yeah, and I mean, like Marilyn said that there, it was a convention, so she's assuming there's a lot of movement going on. And I even think someone said, if you say, can we all settle down, or can we stop moving? I think what got me was the tone and the body language. Shut the door. It's almost like, what's wrong with you? Shut the door. Like it did give the feel of some type of like stick up. You know what I mean? Like even though it wasn't.
I mean,
the door. Like,
these Pentecostal assemblies of the world, and other groups who are of that ilk are accustomed to commanding and decreeing.
Yeah. So
that I take authority over. I loose this, I bind, and so being able to give a command is something that's relatively normative. Now in an Adventist church, you shut that door if you want to, and you'll find yourself being relocated to a church in North Carolina that ain't even in our conference.
But we have churches that close the door; they lock them.
There's a difference between security and I'm taking authority.
Yeah, saying it from the pulpit. You're saying.
Now that you're saying that, there is truth in how we communicate that message. So it's never I command you kind of thing. It's like, okay, at this moment for security, we explain it fully. We're going to do this at this moment. So we're going to ask you to not move. So yeah, the tone. The tone is different. The tone is definitely different.
You remember back in the day, back in the day, with bulletins, it would have little asterisks where it said, at this time, worshipers might be seated. There's a understanding that there are certain times of the service where movement is not expected. Intercessory prayer, offering time, when the pastor's coming in, whatever. And so if in the convention, it is standard that during offering, the doors are shut. It didn't have to be, I said, shut the door. All right. Per our customs, ushers, we'd like you to, whatever. It's that tone and then the sarcasm after about the restaurant that will give people the idea, you ain't mean this is free will offering at this time, or we're trying to do it for the betterment of this specific cause. It came off too hard.
Can I be honest? I've heard some stories about some Adventist preachers who we hold in high regard and how they do their appeals. If I'm honest, this was a light version of what I've heard that they did. Okay. And so now we don't villainize them because they were doing it for the kingdom, right? Now I've always questioned it. It's never really sat well with me. I'm wondering. All right, so was there mistakes made? In our opinion, yes. Why? My initial question is why now? Why release this?
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it happened last week. I didn't even look at the timestamp.
People are always trying to find a reason to bash the church and say, "See, this is why I don't see. This is why I don't." We're just trying to create another reason to discredit.
And
so, who made the initial posting of that?
No, who?
I don't know. I'm asking.
I think they got it from the convention. I mean, based on what I shared, you have conventions, you stream it. It's on their site. It looked like it came from their site, but people lifted it and put it on their own pages with their own captions to give their context.
Yeah. So overall, what was the point?
The point was that he pretty much forced the people. It was like a shakedown for $40,000. The pastor staged a shakedown. Would not let the people leave until they raised $40,000.
People are real brutal.
Okay, but
like they'll put.
The question I'm asking is, if that's the person who posts it, if that's their position, what's the What's the end game here? What are you trying to say? What are you ultimately saying? Because you could lift offering appeals from hundreds and hundreds of church services, and you could frame it a certain way and characterize it a certain way with a certain bias to control individuals' thinking about that topic.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what it's meant to do. And you know, some people say maybe it was targeted at Marvin Sapp. You know, maybe it was, you know, him. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was like GP saying, some people just have these vendettas. They're looking for things to post. They're trying to cause hysteria, so they're just finding anything that, you know, they can grab and create this little viral moment. I mean, Marvin Sapp isn't the first one. I know Keon Henderson. He had his moment where, you know, he was also kind of demonized for his methods of raising funds or something of that nature. Oh no, it wasn't that. It was
He told someone to be
He made
quiet.
a prophetic.
He was. No, he had several. So he
Yeah, he did.
all of this. He would tell someone to be quiet. And so in every instance, everybody's trying to say that wasn't the context. That's not what it meant. But when people are looking for a reason not to like church, not a reason not to, you know, they're going to pull these things out and say, this is why I don't go to church. This is why I don't believe in this stuff. They just want your money. They talk to you any kind of way. There's no respect. And we eat it up. You know, we go right into our cancel culture of, oh, I can't believe it.
And quite frankly, I think that's the larger question. Even before the internet, you had the 700 Club, PTL, and other televangelists. You talk about strange things. There were televangelists that said, just touch your TV. Touch your TV and God will inspire you to give $200 or whatever. I mean, it's some of it sounds ridiculous, but it was even before the internet. And the larger question for me, the concern is that because of the global spread of the internet, and specifically social networks, anyone can be victimized for anything.
Right.
And there's a clause with the FCC called fair use. So they can grab clips just like we grabbed the clip, you know, and show and try to frame a topic around their soundbite.
You know, no one, you know, and I just saw what Brother Clark was saying, that it is coercive, and someone else spoke of manipulation, and it may be manipulative. There's a thin line between manipulation and seduction. Seduction is when you are persuaded to do something that you really wish to do. Manipulation is when you wake up the next day and say, "Where you put my drink?" That's different. And in this case, Marvin Sapp was doing something that was a part of that culture. Shoot, it is not far from us. I have been, you know, in our day, the person who was best known at raising offerings was Oscar Lane. I was in the room with Oscar when he raised in one setting $80,000 in one setting, and I learned from it. You know, that was during the days when we were building Germantown. I learned how to raise offerings from Oscar Lane. In another setting, he raised over $100,000 at one meeting. And it can be done. But when you tell somebody, shut the door and all that, you are conveying and people gravitate to authority. They gravitate to people who present themselves as being definitive, unyielding, and persuasive and authorized. But anybody could have gotten up and walked out the door. Look, if I'm at that age now where, you know, I don't care how many doors you lock. If you don't let me out when a certain portion of my anatomy tells me I need to get out, you're going to need some new offering buckets. Okay, y'all didn't get that one.
No, we got it.
Oh, okay.
We got it. More than one is
When
good.
it's, you know,
Let me get your opinion on a quote that Sapp wrote in response to this furor. He said, "The truth is, when finances are being received in any worship gathering, it is one of the most vulnerable and exposed times for both the finance and security teams. Movement during this sacred exchange can be distracting and at times even risky. My directive was not about control. It was about creating a safe, focused, and reverent environment for those choosing to give and for those handling the resources, unquote. So what's your reaction to that? I mean, that's an actual word for word quote from
Yeah.
Steph.
I mean, I think it goes back to what we were just saying in terms of it's not I think that was convenient for him to use, but I think the whole tone in which he was saying to lock the doors, there's a way that you can make sure the ushers are, because it seemed like the ushers were, I don't guess they weren't moving, which means this protocol was not established in that way for them. I mean, for him to have to say it multiple times meant that maybe, something wasn't right. So I don't know. I don't know if I buy that it was necessary.
It was a facile attempt to explain an uncomfortable situation. And I give him credit for. No, I don't give him credit for it, because it was facile. It was, look, the context was clear. He said, we're all getting out of here at the same time, and you're not going anywhere anyway except to the restaurant. The context was clear. I don't want folks to get out.
Yeah.
There was nothing in the context that says, bank robbers are waiting for us out there. But, look, it's an uncomfortable thing. There are things I wish I hadn't said in a public setting. Fortunately, I'm not famous, and so nobody was, taping me and showing it.
Okay, I'm glad you said that, because that's a good set. Because I don't want, I mean, even though what he said it can create the controversy, we have to be aware that anything we say can be taken out of context, even when there is no malintent. And Tally, you said because you're not well known, that no one's really lifting you. But there have been instances where little known people become known because of their sound bites. That
time for me to go.
I was going to say, I got a folder.
So I was going to ask you guys, how does this impact? Like, is that even in your minds as you're preparing messages, as you're speaking in your churches?
It is now.
Are you saying, oh, how can this be taken out of context? Or, oh, maybe I should make sure this is clear. Some people feel the need to over-explain so that nothing can.
Adventist evangelists have said things withering. I remember Cleveland was preaching one time, and Cleveland was known, he'll be in the middle of it, such and such and such. Wake that man up. I mean, in the middle of his sermon, I remember once he was preaching and a baby started crying, and he was such coming in clouds of glory. Shut that baby up. I mean, he said this. Now, it wouldn't play well right now, but at the time he played it, people knew that's who he was, where he was, and they didn't take. Some people took offense, but most people did not. Most people who were reasonable did not take offense. But I mean, we used to talk about other ministers being barking dogs that because they didn't keep the Sabbath, and you're going straight to hell if you go to church. We said things that we would shoot.
And it's happened in our institutions. Remember at Oakwood, Edwards, is his name Edwards? Oops,
No Diddy.
Yeah, no Diddy. The no Diddy comment.
Oh yeah.
So even in our Adventist spaces,
he intended that to go viral.
Yeah, like he stood by that. That wasn't even I'm sorry, even though people had something to say. And sometimes it's one of those things where, do you feel the need to defend yourself? Like, because now, of course, Marvin Sapp has released a statement. His, organization has released a statement trying to kind of, speak on his behalf. And
what did the organization say, pray tell?
So I actually have the letter up here. Pretty much.
Okay.
Go ahead.
PAW. Paw Patrol.
Before you pull up the letter, I heard you, GP. One of my preaching mentors long ago, he did explain to me that when you're preaching now, because of the climate that we're in, and this is before a lot of churches were going online, just dealing with the people that show up in your building, you can't assume that everyone has the same understanding of of doctrine, the same understanding of Christianity, the same understanding or any understanding of the Bible. And so you got to be aware of a lot of the Adventist terminology that we throw out there when we're amongst each other that we feel comfortable with, and being clear in how you're communicating on, as a preacher. You can assume that everyone knows David and Goliath, but everyone might not know David and Goliath. So you might have to explain things just a little bit more for clarity's sake. And so I took that from him, and I think even now we might have to go a step further. There's two sides to this. One, there are these viral moments that we don't intend to go viral, and then two, there's a growing community of Adventist online commentators now. They have YouTube pages, and then there's a larger Christian community that will take a clip from your sermon, and so you have to be firm in whatever you're saying. You have to be biblical, you have to be sound, and whatever that you're going to put out there, because at some point you may have to defend whatever it is that you believe in. And so if it's sound, let it go. But my question is now, should we be live streaming? Should we have PRs that look over our sermons before we preach them? I don't know. Being a little facetious, but we should definitely that's just standard. We should be careful in what we're communicating.
Yeah, I agree with you there, but I don't know that we can escape the soundbite grabs of people who want to frame a topic a certain way. In fact, last year, came across a YouTube channel, Seventh-day Adventist, and I'll just say it. The name is called his Brother Lawrence, and he took a soundbite or clip from the Germantown Seventh-day Adventist Church, indicating that he was of the opinion that worship service style was not accepted by God. Now, what's to prevent him from doing that? Nothing. People are going to take sound bites and frame the issue the way, if that's their goal, to persuade you to think and agree with their position, they'll use those sound bites. I don't think we can escape that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just the nature of the internet.
Yeah. One point of clarity. He did not say lock the door. He said close the door.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think I said he said lock the door, but I think I've been watching too many of the spoofs of the.
And Teddy Pendergrass sang the special music. Close the door.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I think the aggression, it made me feel like it was locked the door.
Yeah, some people responded by saying, "Oh, he couldn't do that. That he could be charged with kidnapping 1,500 people in a room." I mean, just some of the responses.
We do the most. But real quickly, since I mentioned that the letter, this was an official statement from the Pentecostal Assemblies of the World Incorporated, and they released this on March 29th. I won't read it all. But pretty much they shared that Bishop Marvin Sapp ministered at the International Summer Convention of the Pentecostal Assemblies of the World at the request of the organization. So they had asked him. Bishop Marvin Sapp proceeded in receiving a free will offering that would go towards expenses incurred for this gathering and their organizational operations. Then he said, months later, which is what we're seeing now, a short clip from our convention has gone viral and unduly represented not only Bishop Marvin Sapp, but the PAW and churches worldwide. And so they go on to say that they were very grateful for everyone that donated to the organization. In the end, it says, they're telling a lot about how he's a devoted member of the PAW, and that is their hope and prayer that additional context will go a long way in reestablishing trust between the institution of the church. So this is another layer too, because here we have an individual, right, who has gone viral, but he also represents an organization that is also being criticized because of the actions of one of their members. So, as a communication leader, we have these protocols, these guards that we try to put in place to protect even our pastors. There have been some things that we've had to remove from our AEC media because we felt that it could be seen offensive, as offensive, or could stir up more than what we wanted to deal with. So, definitely in this context is not even just about you. It's about what could happen to the organization and the individuals that you're associated with because when you go down, they usually try to take everybody down.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
So these are some of the things that have to be considered with social media. So, with that being in context, they're thinking about that. Has social media done more good for us or more harm? Yeah, I feel like it's important to kind of weigh that. What do you guys
I'm
think?
interested to hear what we say on this one, because I definitely have thoughts.
I don't know that I could answer it as, has it done more on any particular side of harm or positivity to compare it to each other. But I think it has done harm and it has done good, right? I think it has brought people together in a certain way, even us here, right? It's brought us together in this way, and this, by God's grace, produces good, right? People have all sorts of information, right, that they're open to that has produced good. There are negative sides to it as well. Things that can now be taken and misunderstood. Things that are hard to correct once it's out there, misinformation that might be given, on some of the platforms. But I can't say it has produced more good than bad or more bad than good. I think it just has its place in both categories.
50-50 kind of.
In general, I'm an optimist when it comes to technology. However, it's hard for me to overlook the damage that social media has done. And when I speak of social media, I think I'm speaking on how it has hijacked, I would say, impression. We are very impressionable, right? Especially in areas that we're not experts in. Whatever information someone that we perceive to be an expert, we accept, and that's just a part of our nature, right? I shouldn't have to be an expert in electrical engineering to learn how to turn on a light, right? We rely on the experts around us. So with that, it has been demonstrated time and time again how our algorithms change our understanding or perception of reality.
Right.
And so in that regard, there are a lot of dangers out there on social media. And when we spend some time dialoguing with individuals outside of that, we can actually have a fresh perspective on things. So yeah, there are some positives, and I do believe it could be a great tool, but it's done a lot of damage to us in so many different ways. And I'm sure we're gonna see a study done in 10 years talking about the irreparable damage that's been done over the last 5 since COVID, and beyond that, So there's a lot that has been done through social media and because of social media that should be a cause of concern.
And I just add to what you're saying, Miguel. I think we have even gotten to the point where we'll read the headline and whatever it says, that's what we run with. Sometimes we don't even read the article. We don't, and sometimes a lot of it's clickbait. But we run with a narrative, and I think that's kind of the negative side of it. It used to be a great resource where you could do research. You can get on Google and look up all these things and get all this information. Now we read the headline. That's all we need to know. We run with it. We move into action. We spread it. We share it. And then someone might click and say in the comments, this isn't right. This is not true. And they're like, oh, man. And you almost feel like you spoiled it for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like we're looking for, and I think it comes from, because I think there has been a study done And and I'm not sure. I remember, Tally, there was a book we were talking about this. Well, it was like mental health of children and how it's being impacted.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things it shares about social media, and I'm not even saying this is in the book. One of the things I've learned about social media is that we're all looking for people who are worse off than us, or something to make us feel better about whatever situation we're in. So if we can look and see, oh wow, they're canceling him, it almost for some people gives them a sense of, okay, I'm still good. It's like we want to see drama, we want to see hardship, we want to see these things to kind of make us feel better about our own situations. And that's the sad part about it, because we're quick to be in those comments with everybody else when something goes down, and we're adding our little 2 cents and our little judgments, and how dare he, all of that. So I just think it's interesting. Oh, let's see, somebody said Ronnie said social media is great when used for what it was made for. Well, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a tool like any other tool. I mean, like I have a butcher knife, and it does a great job slicing tomatoes.
Mhm.
But if I get mad and start stabbing people, then suddenly the tool is evil.
See
But
that
so
right there, Tally? Somebody could take that line.
what's that?
If that knife, you can start stabbing people, and that could be your little running.
Well, I mean, if they did that, they need to be smacked. But
And they can take that, and if they can be smacked, they need to be
Exactly. Put it together.
Let me repeat it. They need to be smacked hard if they take that line and run with it. But here's the thing. One of the problems that I am seeing is, and this is something that we have to watch, the capacity to project image beyond relationship is a dangerous thing.
Mhm.
People always say if Jesus was here, he'd be on television. I don't know if he would. I mean, because Jesus tended to not touch people that could not touch him back. And the capacity to project image beyond the ability to relate is something that leads to idolatry, as we see with Nebuchadnezzar. You lift your image and you tell everybody bow down to it, but they're not in relationship with you, and vice versa. And one of the things that I'm finding very challenging now is that our media ministries are interested in projecting an image beyond who and what we are, and branding ministries. Our brand of Christianity is more effective. It will take the ring out of your collar and make your underarms smell better than the brand of Christianity down the street. And I think we have to be, church fellowship is for the people who are part of the fellowship. And when you start merchandising it, can you imagine Jesus, after healing people, saying, "Hi, I'm Jesus, and I want to let you know that we're going to be in your neighborhood. We want to know if you want it. Do you want a healing? Do you need an uplift? I'll be in your neighborhood. Make sure you join us next week." That's right. Jesus right here. I don't know.
Sally, you opening up a whole nother can of worms here.
I find it very frightening to watch, especially the branding of ministry. I mean, Paul said it best, it's not about me. It's not about Apollos. It's about Christ. And when I start running around with Taliaferro Uplift Ministries, sow a seed right now. We're coming to your community because we are going to lift you like Miguel and GP can't lift. I mean, I'm concerned about that.
Well, to address your original question, Natasha, I believe the internet and most of the digital spaces are for mostly good. It is like, all human pathology. When someone develops something, there's always a mad scientist that comes along and corrupts. So we are the problem, not the technology.
Mm-hmm.
We decide to use it in a negative way. In fact, I haven't seen the series, but I did read up on it. Netflix has a series out called Adolescence, and it's about how social networks have affected young people with their depression and even some of their criminal tendencies. Now, that's bad. But you don't throw, the whole technology out because human beings decided to use it for negative purposes. So I really think the question is, do we use the internet technology
I agree.
for the best or for the worst?
Mhm. Yeah, and responsibly, because we can find ourselves getting caught up just like everyone else in terms of the clickbait, and are we doing our due diligence in terms of verifying things before we carry it to the next place? Are we
This
engaging
is
in it?
really a carryover from before the internet.
Mm.
Mainstream media, Noam Chomsky co-authored a book called Manufactured Consent. Look it up. It's a good read.
Mhm.
How even before the internet, news agencies, corporate media influenced us, told us what we should think,
Mhm.
advertised things. And it still happens today. We get advertisements, where, these advertisers try to convince you that you need a F-150 pickup truck. You weren't even thinking about that before you saw the commercial, and you saw, you know what? Yeah, maybe I do need a pickup truck.
Mhm.
That's manufacturing, consent, and we
Yeah.
fall right into that. The internet is an exaggerated, amplified version of that human pathology.
Yeah.
You see the internet, like you said, Tasha. You see a clickbait, you go for it, and that's truth to you,
Yeah.
without cross-referencing, without checking, fact checking. And I think what people found in this SAP viral incident is that those that did not react immediately said, wait a minute, let me check this out and see what the context is. Now, that doesn't mean that, your opinion is going to be swayed one way or the other
Mhm.
about SAP's, authenticity and all of that. But you get to see how the viral video can shape a framework, and people bought right into it. I saw quite a few content creators buy right into that. They were suckered right into that. They started saying negative things about the church and negative things about offerings and all of that. Well, as far as the adversary is concerned, mission accomplished.
Right. And a
Yeah.
lot of times it's not even that the content creators believe it, is that they're riding that viral wave. It's like, oh, this is what everybody's talking about right now. How can I use this to lift my platform or get some views? And it's like sometimes I see this stuff and I'm like, oh, who's on the slaughter this week? All right, we'll give this a week, this will pass, and then it'll be someone else. I mean, I feel like that's just kind of where we are.
May I want to corral my colleague, Pastor Grissom. He's talking about Cleveland using slides. Media, like I said before, if a tool is used to make the effort and to increase the efficiency of the function, I think the tool is being used properly. But when the tool becomes a replacement for something or a substitute for something, Cleveland didn't use. Now, of course, evangelists are different. They're a different breed of cat. But when he used slides, I mean, it was just like Jesus using a parable. You're using a tool to make a point so that you can win hearts and minds and persuade. So now, if you want to call that branding, that's okay. I mean, but the real thing is the relationship has to exist. The ability to touch and be touched has to exist. And there has to be the capacity for the person that you are reaching to have a real-time experience with the reacher. Other than that, it's religious pornography. You're watching things, getting a
Voyeurism.
great feeling about something that has no relevance to your reality.
Right.
And that's what I mean when I mean we all know that there are these churches, when you watch them on screen, they got the lights and the band and the whole bit, and you go by that church and they look like who did it and what for. and it the reality of the church has nothing to do with the product that they are manufacturing to sell you. And that's what I mean when I say the idea of promoting a brand, over, the only real brand is the brand of God through Jesus Christ reconciling the world to God. I mean, everything else is just a tool. I'm a tool. Miguel is a tool. And then we got some other guys who are real tools.
I was gonna say
I to piggyback what you're saying, Tally. There is a book that I started reading this year, and it speaks on the. Thank you. It speaks on this very topic of church and social media. The reality is, I think with every new technology, we believe that it's going to eliminate something. For example, microwaves did not eliminate the need for stoves, right? It helps, but it's not going to totally eradicate the need for stoves. Yeah, we have air fryers, but I still got an oven, in my kitchen, and I use it. They help us in our process, but they're not going to eliminate the essential foundations that we're going to need fire, some heating source to heat up our food the right way. Social media should not be the end all for church experience. The product that we put out there should not be the end all. In fact, churches need to start figuring out, how do we create disciples? How do we create community? How are we, touching ourselves with those who are watching us? How do we, ensure that we're actually touching people's lives instead of just entertaining them for an hour or two? And that's something that we haven't really thought through, that next step in what we're doing online. In fact, we're doubling down on really using our websites and our social media as just billboards. And that's what you're speaking to, Callie, of what we got going on inside. And to be honest,
well,
sometimes when we go inside, it's you see, it's kind of like you go to a movie set, you see the front end,
and then you walk behind the prop.
You see what's happening behind the props. And so
if there are
still a need for community.
If there are people listening right now who convinced themselves that they went to church because they watched something on their computer, you are fooling yourself.
Uh-oh.
It's that simple. Now, don't get me wrong. It's good to be able to do it. But if you perceive that you were a part of a fellowship because you watched something online, you are fooling yourself.
Uh-oh.
And if you don't think you're fooling yourself, the next time you get hungry, go online and look at somebody cook food and tell me how you feel an hour and a half later. There's a difference between being a part of a fellowship and enjoying what a ministry might convey to you by watching it. There's nothing wrong with that. But it should not become a substitute for something else.
But Tally, I think at the heart of this issue, church has become a buffet. I select what I want and I put them and I go to my table. That's how I'm gonna use the word, that's how we've branded church.
Well,
we don't build communities like we used to.
That is very true.
Folks feel fine as long as I get my praise set and my sermon. I got the word that I need. Then I can go away and do this at home. I don't need to make myself uncomfortable and go to someone's building. That's what we've created now.
Yeah, COVID helped with that too.
COVID intensified that. But like JFK said, ask not what your church can do for you, but ask what you can do for your church. I'm paraphrasing him, of course. I mean, we're at a point now where we are consumer based, and instead of measuring what we can contribute, we now measure what we can get, and we have to do better. It's about fellowship. We are members of the body of Christ, and being a part of the body means that I have to be sympathetically connected with the rest of the body. Even if the feet stink, the hands don't leave the feet at home, because we're part of the body.
Yeah, I like that. Well, I know, and I see your question, Rodney. I actually think that would be, that's a great show topic. Thoughts about online churches, and even the branding. I feel like that's a show we can do, because I mean, from a communication standpoint, hosting communication conferences, and even presenting on church brands and having different presenters.
And I'm
come.
not against a brand so that you can
No.
identify yourself.
Right. Yeah.
I'm saying
Yeah.
when it becomes a substitute for something else.
Right. And that's kind of what I think would be a great thing for us to talk about, where the line is drawn, because I think sometimes that's not very clear. I know we had a presenter, Christopher Thompson, and he was sharing that, as you said, Tally, our brand is Jesus. So when you promote the leader more than you promote Jesus or the ministry of the church, who is the brand? Is it the pastor? Is the pastor the brand? Or,
Mhm.
and so I just feel like there's great discussion we can have regarding that, but we'll do that at another time. But yeah, guys, I think this has been a great discussion on, one, just understanding how our words at any moment can be captured and used to whomever is capturing its intent in terms of a negative thing. And I know a lot of people who have been personally, their characters have been maligned by somebody lifting something and it going viral, them losing engagements, losing, even brand deals and things of that nature. Because once your reputation goes down, then people you lose your credibility. And when you lose your credibility, it's really hard to navigate in the same spaces. And we see this with politicians. We see that all the time with politicians, like even recently with Jasmine.
Down in Texas.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was funny, the whole Hot Wheels comment. It's like, oh, how could she call this gentleman in a wheelchair Hot Wheels, and understanding that it had nothing to do literally with the wheelchair, but that was an attempt, of course, to malign her character. When I was reading the comments, several people were like, we always call him that. It has nothing to do with that. Although some were being rude and say they did. But what I'm saying is, anybody, even when you have no ill intent, anything you say can be taken out of context. But it's also important for us to be responsible on the other side and not just taking things at face value and participating in a cancel culture kind of phenomenon where we're also like canceling them as well. Like, we don't even, but in some cases, maybe we do. Anyway, I won't get into that. But
In closing, just to address Mike's statement in the chat, that the word brand concerns him. Well, that's the way it is. The Seventh-day Adventist Church brands its type of theology. It's our brand.
I think that's the concerning part.
Yeah. I mean, and we've had it for decades. That's our brand, Seventh-day Adventist. We have a particular logo. And, if you see a Seventh-day Adventist logo without anything following it on the thumbnail, anyone that's involved in religions and Protestant religions versus Catholic already know that Seventh-day Adventist logo means Seventh-day Sabbath. It means Mark of the Beast. It means all the things, all the doctrines that we preach. So that is our brand. There's no way to escape it.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you for engaging us in this topic, especially to our online audience. Thank you for your comments and reflections on this subject matter. So, as the childhood song used to say, "Oh, be careful, little." What you say, right?
That's one of the first signs, Tosh.
I was like, no, I don't want to say do. I don't want to say see. I want to say. So, yeah.
I think
a little mouth
worthy,
to say. I don't know if that was one of them, but it could be one.
Yes, it is.
I think it would be worthy for us to maybe do a show on that topic of branding, because I've worked with a lot of evangelistic meetings and filmed a lot of them. And I noticed a consistent marketing ploy. You would hear that the tent down on 4th Street is the Bright Light Bible Crusade. Okay. And right in the lower left-hand corner, you might see Seventh-day Adventists. We refuse to put the logo as the main focus. And then the name of the crusade as secondary. It's always the other way around because, and I've heard this from evangelists, they say as soon as they see that Seventh-day Adventist logo, folk will not walk into this temple.
Yeah, I would never put it on my advertising for an evangelistic meeting.
All right, see, this is our cliffhanger.
And incidentally, Tasha's moment of forgetfulness was brought to you by Ginkgo biloba.
Yeah. No, I think, we'll talk about this. Is definitely going to be something we come back and talk about. Great discussion. All right, guys. Thank you for participating every week in possible viral moments on the Upset Podcast. Thank you
Hold on just a second.
Branding.
Yeah, make sure.
Make sure the logo's showing, right?
Well, Tally, don't be surprised if some of your sound bites show up on
I immediately after I said it's religious pornography, I said I wish I had said that. But
it's all good.
I mean, hey, look, I'm not afraid. Anything I said is worthy of being quoted because I, Keenan Tyler, I'm not afraid of being quoted.
Oh, I love it. I love it. All right, guys. Thanks again. And we'll see you back here. Same time. Same place next week.
You got it. Peace, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.